You had your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back. Yes, episode 230. A lot of episodes, a lot of fun, and a lot to talk about tonight. I am your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callahan, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Matty C, etc. And all the way in Granite Studios in St. Cloud, Minnesota, Paul Vold, the Shield. What's going on there, Shield?
Well, as of breaking news of the last couple of minutes, it's official. I've assigned another 7-year contract, $350,000 $1 million contract to remain on the show itself. Don't know where that money's going to be coming from. Hey, everybody's getting big time FU money. Let's go ahead and throw some more our way too.
There is a lot of money to be had, and another person that has a contract with MinneZona Sports Live is our Minnesota Vikings expert, Mikey Ryan. We welcome Mikey back to the show. Mikey!
Yeah!
It's been a long couple days for Minnesota Vikings, but a fun couple of days. How we doing?
Oh, we're doing well. It's been a crazy offseason. We've been telling you guys for the past 4 months, it seems like at this point, that this offseason was the big one. And they showed out. Kwesi cooked a little bit. He cooked a little bit.
He definitely cooked a lot, I feel like. And there's still cooking to be had with your Minnesota Vikings. We've definitely got the hot leads, if you will, on potential free agents that might be interested. There is a lot to talk about with that. Hence why we have foregone a special segment tonight. It is Kwesi, KOC, and the Minnesota Vikings. They cooking, and they cooking good. So that's what we got for Tater Tot Hot Take. Yes, we are missing an E, and that is an O, but don't blame us for that. And then after that special segment, we got NFL free agency. We're going outside of the Vikings. We're going to talk about some other teams and whatnot for ARA. The frenzy is on around the NFL. And the Minnesota Wild, they've added some guys at the trade deadline. We'll talk about that as well. And then sticking with the NHL, Ovechkin is down to single digits for the goal record. We are keeping an eye on that. And then we got Tiger. Big news from Tiger Woods. He is undergoing Achilles surgery because he ruptured his Achilles. Talk about that, see what the impacts of that are. And to round things off, Rich Rodriguez, the head coach of the West Virginia Mountaineers again. He's banning his players from TikTok. Very bold move coming from him. And then tonight we obviously will have Shield shout-outs, as you can see. So before we get started with everything NFL free agency, Voldy, let's take a look at our Minnesota Vikings free agents list that we had. Mikey, we had our Infinity top 6, and let's just say we got a couple. We're not.
I saw the board, man.
Yeah, the list. I mean, Milton Williams goes to Voldy's Patriots, which is that'll work. Unfortunately, Vikings weren't able to do that, but we'll talk about some of those guys that they did get. Willfries is a Minnesota Viking, so claps there. Aaron Jones has returned to the Minnesota Vikings. Claps there. Jevonholland goes to the New York Giants. Apparently, the Vikings offered him some good money, and he decided not to take it, which is weird in itself. But you know what? That's fine. We'll figure something out. Number 5, djreed. He is a Detroit Lion. Kind of stings there a little bit just because of the the Lions and everything in division. But you know what? We got Byron Murphy back, so we're happy about that. But to round things off, we have Patrickmekari. I think he went to I had it in my head.
Another team.
He went to another team. Fair enough. Yep. And that was only if they missed out on Fries. I think that was kind of the big news there, if the Vikings missed out there. Voldy's did quite well. Unfortunately, Sammy D is a Seattle Seahawk. Very interesting. But a lot of couple question marks, though. mehkibecton?
Exactly.
I mean, there's possibility there. Tevenjenkins? Another possibility there. Who knows? He could play left in front of or taking Randall's place, but we'll see. Milton Williams just talked about that. Aaron Jones, that's a check mark there. Najeeharris goes to the Chargers as well. Yeah. And Cam Beasley, our guy Cam Beasley is going to the Indianapolis Colts, which is kind of sad because we love Cam Beasley here. Sports Live. Harry, we're still waiting. I mean, he come back, he not coming back. What the hell's going on? So, with that being said, I did want to just quick put that out there for us before we start going on our Minnesota Vikings.
We're collectively, 3 for 12 or something like that?
Yeah, hey, that's...
Okay, you take the 2
off. That's a good batting average.
We're 3 for 10 right now. We still got a couple question marks out
there.
With Becton and Jenkins. Hey, 3 for 10. We're in the Hall of Fame right now with that 300, batting average.
Yeah.
That's not bad. That's not bad. So, we're going to wait on a couple guys, see where it goes, and, we're not dead yet. As we like to say, we're not dead yet. So, guys, let's get into it. Let's get rolling with some Tater Tot Hot Take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
All right, gentlemen and zoners. Yes, Kwesi, KOC, the Vikings, they are cooking. Straight cash, homie, everywhere. The Minnesota Vikings are killing it in free agency. This is exactly what we wanted. And the fact of the matter is that your Minnesota Vikings are still in the news. We are keeping in touch with our socials medias. I do have the X Machine / formerly known as Twitter up as well to check and see if there's any guys that are potentially coming to Minnesota or if there's anything big as well with that. But before we get into some of these signings and whatnot, I want to start out tonight, Voldy and Mikey, on the steam that has been ramping up as of probably 3-4 o'clock just before the show. Diana Rossini, there's been some speculation among some other writers as well. Kevin Seifert, who is ESPN writer for the Minnesota Vikings as well, said they've had some conversations. It's not out of the realm of possibility that Aaronrodgers, a.k.a. aaronrodgers, would come to Minnesota. But Diana Rossini said this: Vikings decision makers are still evaluating their options at quarterback, including the possibility of signing one Aaron Rodgers, a.k.a. Aaron Rodgers. And then she says the 4-time MVP is intrigued by the idea of playing in Minnesota. For now, it's a waiting game, sources tell Mike Silver and me. So, I have some thoughts on that for sure, but Mikey, we're going to start off with you, go to Voldy, and then myself. What do you make of this? I mean, honestly. I mean, this is just... We've said this ever since the season ended. We don't want this man anywhere near TCO Performance Center, US Bank Stadium, anything. We don't want him being our quarterback. What do you make of this news right now? I mean, what's the percentage from when we ended the season to now that Aaron Rodgers could maybe be a Minnesota Viking? What the hell's going on? What do you got?
I don't know. I mean, the percentage is definitely trending upward, right? Just because the lack of quarterback depth at this point. I mean, we have JJMccarthy signed, and that's about it in the QB room, right? You can have the conversation, I guess I would say, because like it is like, at least in terms of his on-field production, it is interesting to have him in that QB room for JJ McCarthy. I personally, and I think the Vikings are probably going to come to the same assumption, hopefully, that it is a terrible decision, and it will be one that will destroy this offseason if it happens. Letting Aaron Rodgers anywhere close to TCO or this Vikings organization would be not only disastrous for JJ McCarthy's development, it would be disastrous for this team's morale in general. You saw what he did to the Jets. The Jets were terrible. Like they went 2-5, and he basically gave up on the season, and then they were terrible. Like he was already on his ayahuasca trips or his darkness retreat or whatever he goes on, like in the middle of the season. I don't want him here. I think today, I told Matt this before the show, but I think today, JJ is a better quarterback than Aaron Rodgers. You need a veteran that will come in. Like if you want to have some competition, sure, bring in someone who knows that they might have a shot to compete, but ultimately is going to be a guru for JJ McCarthy. JJ McCarthy is the future of this franchise. This isn't like Favre, where like we tried to go with Travaris Jackson for 2 years, it didn't work out. And then and when we needed someone, right? That it's a different story. It was different 15 years ago at this point, right? JJ's proven, like for the most part. We saw him in the one preseason game. He balled out. Yes, he made a rookie mistake and with the one pick, but he was learning on the fly. You saw his progression in real time during that, however many snaps he had. He looked amazing towards the end of his playing time. I think going away from JJ is a mistake. We've set up this team is set up so well for a quarterback to come in like JJ McCarthy and be like, we have given you every tool possible. We have revamped the offensive line. We have revamped the defensive line. we're working on the other pieces, right? Everything's in place for a Super Bowl caliber team. JJ just has to, even if he's just an above average quarterback, this team will be 14-3 again and at least NFC Championship contenders, right? They're like, you just top down, this team is incredible. Like, just from the roster. I mean, spoilers a little bit if you haven't read the news, but you got to bring someone in like a Joe Flacco, or like even a famous Jameis would come in and help out a little bit, right? It's something like that, though, where you're like, yes, if you need to go with the best quarterback available, where JJ is like, okay, he's struggling, he's in like a 3 to 4 week slump, bring in someone to kind of like set him straight, kind of like what they did with quarterback out of Panthers, can't remember his name.
Bryce Young.
Thank you, Bryce Young. Yes, just like that. If you need to reset jjmccarthy for a couple weeks and then throw him back in there and get like a decent to like average quarterback play, like any of those guys would be perfect for it. And they've been in the NFL forever, for JJ to like learn from them on top of KOC.
Before I get to you, Voldy, I do have a quick. I did see this. I forgot to add this as well. Schefter, our guy Adam Schefter, said this in a radio interview. No, it's okay. It's all good. No worries.
Don't scare me like
he
that.
said, "No, I'm not trying to scare anybody, but
Just say it already.
it's good." He says that he doesn't believe that the Vikings would entertain that thought of bringing in Aaronrodgers. He says it's going to be jjmccarthy. He's their guy. So breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief before we get rolling here, which is helpful in itself. We got Skull Zone tuning in. He's got a question.
Hey.
How do you guys feel about the two rumors? Addison for Saucegardner and Aaron Favre signing with the Vikings. I'm sorry. I did see that earlier, but I just love that somebody put it on the show. It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny. But, you know, let's answer the first question with Addison, because Voldy, you'll go right into Rodgers here. Mm-hmm. But Addison for Saucegardner, I know it's a rumor and everything like that.
I would entertain that trade.
I would too. I think I would entertain it.
The question is, what are you getting in return? I know you're getting Saucegardner. We all know that. But if they were able to do that trade and whatever picks, I mean, they do need picks, let's be honest. Right. They do need picks. But the one thing I'd add to that, if Addison's gone, you got to go in on our guy, Cooperkupp. You got to go out and get somebody to add next to Jefferson. That's the perfect guy I feel like you could bring with Jefferson. And an old friend of ours, he's in the photo in back of me here, Stephon Diggs is still a free agent. He's out there.
I think he's too much. I think he's got the Rodgers problem. I think he's got the
I don't. No, I know.
No.
I'm joking because as you've seen how Diggs operates, especially in this offseason, I mean, he's going after Cardi B, apparently. I mean, this is insane in itself. Stephon's doing Stephon things. But I would imagine 95% of Vikings fans would say absolutely not. I was just throwing that out there. But adding Cooperkupp across, right next to Jefferson, I think would be lethal. But I would rather have Jefferson, Addison, and Kupp. Let's go. I mean, come on. This would be awesome. But Sauce,
there'd be a 98 trio right there.
Yeah. And again, Sauce, I think Saucegardner would be perfect for what we want to do. Him and Murphy together, that's a lethal combination. Dangerous combination. Skull Zone says Cooperkupp and Adam Thielen to replace Addison's production. Now
book it.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Put Thielen on the league minimum.
Yeah.
I mean, Thielen's he's got a house here. He's got everything. I mean, it should be slam dunk.
He's been a Viking for all of 2 years of his NFL career. Like, just bring him back. Bring him
home.
I
Bring him
I don't know
home.
if you guys know or not, but Adam Thielen, Detroit Lakes, Minnesota guy, went to Minnesota State Mankato.
Whoa.
Was going to be a
Mind
dental tools
blown.
salesman if the
Who
football
knew?
didn't work out. Just putting that out there.
Did Collinsworth tell you that? Is that?
Well,
I think you have to do some hard-hitting research.
Oh, here's a guy. All right, Voldy, let's get to your thoughts on this whole Aaron Favre possibility here. What do you got?
Well, first off, I mean, this is just perfect. He is going to fulfill the prophecy that is of being a Green Bay quarterback. You go to the Jets, and then you sign with the Vikings on top of it. Now, if the prophecy is to be fulfilled and he leads us to the NFC Championship game, strap in because it is going to be a wild, wild ride, to say the least. But I see it from both angles. Let me start off from what could potentially be the bad side. Yes, we already know the track record of Rodgers, what he did to the Jets in 2 seasons there, really dragged down. Okay, we're not going to say he dragged down the franchise. You can't really drag down a dumpster fire that is the New York Jets organization, but at least they were competitive the years prior to, the 2 seasons, I would say, in the Robert Saleh era in New York before Rodgers got there, and you thought that him being there was going to make them an instant Super Bowl contender. It didn't work out like that. They have a young, burgeoning defense that definitely has some playmakers on it. Now some of those pieces have moved on. Injuries, the offense couldn't stay out of their own way, even when Rodgers was in there. And then this past season, it was basically, okay, what do we need to get Rodgers comfortable and get him everything right? Oh, you need his offensive coordinator. Tried that, didn't work. Oh, you need his former number 1 wide receiver. Spurts of, greatness in there, but still not quite enough. I mean, coming off the Achilles surgery still wasn't quite enough. Things did kind of open up in the back half of the season for Rodgers. I mean, he still put up 4,300 yards passing, I think, this year, which still isn't terrible, but it didn't translate to wins on top of it, and got to 500 career passing touchdowns. Yay for him. On the other side, and I know that he has been quoted as saying that Rodgers would be willing to take a pay cut to be a mentor somewhere on a team that is a contender. I know specifically he might have mentioned the Vikings in previous conversations, or at least being able to bite the bullet on top of that. But I am of the mindset, and someone may need to check my sanity for this, I would be okay with Rodgers being the backup, strictly in the Andy Dalton, Bryce Young sense.
Oh, no.
If it goes to hell in a handbasket with jjmccarthy for a couple of weeks, you throw Rodgers in there. At this point, we're probably 0-3, 0-4. Okay, get the rookie out. It's not working so well. Maybe Rodgers sneaks out a win or 2 for 3 weeks or something like that. Get us back on, and maybe, unfortunately, knock on wood, Rodgers goes down. Then you bring back in the rookie. He's had time to, reevaluate his life and how to, how things work at the professional level. Maybe it's a little kick in the rear end that would work. I'm just saying it makes sense. Do I want all the fanfare and the hoopla that goes along with Aaron Rodgers? Absolutely not. But on the other side, I could say, based off this one off season, or this, couple of days, week and a half that we've seen from the Vikings, they're not sitting on the sidelines anymore. They've got a team that can go. They can win now. They've got a head coach that's not afraid to, mix things up. They've got a general manager that's not afraid to go after a guy that they need. Why not bring in a Super Bowl winning quarterback as a mentor? Now, we saw things, like in Hard Knocks that we saw the season with the Jets. Zach Wilson, unfortunately, didn't get his real opportunity to shine. But he did have some bright spots in that brief tenure that he did have with Aaron Rodgers being as the backup to kind of learn things, kind of remold his game, just take the pressure off the young guy. And I feel like with having a savvy veteran quarterback, doesn't have to be Rodgers. I'll take Jameiswinston. I'll take whoever else is still out there. I mean, unfortunately, we lost Darnold. Josh Dobbs is now in New England. I mean, I could go on and on about other veteran quarterbacks. Jacoby Brissett's in Arizona now, I believe I just saw. But any other, I mean, Jameiswinston, I'll take Jameis at this point as a savvy backup because we know he can still sling the pill every way this way to Sunday. But I can make the argument, and I understand why Rodgers would at least be able to, garner some interest. And we know what we've seen out of Kevin O'Connell with the quarterbacks here. Of course, he turned around the career of Sam Darnold. Now he's a $100 million quarterback after his career was pretty much over. I can make the argument for having Rodgers as the backup and at least solidifying a little bit more in the quarterback room right now. Because yes, you've got the bright upstart rookie, from last season that, got hurt, had a surgery, had another surgery to clean things up, but he still hasn't played a meaningful snap of NFL football. He had that one preseason game, but beyond that, nothing really to write home about. I'll take some veteran help for sure.
So before I get into mine, on Skull Zone throwing in their 2 cents. I like Rodgers on the team. Think about the attention the Vikings would get all year long. Yeah, they'd get a lot of attention, whether, negative or positive. If the Vikings do good or bad, they'll generate tons of media attention, revenue skyrocketed, which that would make sense financially. But there are a couple problems. One, knowing Aaron Rodgers, like we know one Aaron Rodgers, gentlemen, is that he is the type of guy that would be fine if things went to hell, if it didn't satisfy his own needs. If Aaron Rodgers called up the Vikings would have to put a line in the sand and say, this is how we're going to conduct it. You are not going to be in control here. We are in control of what you want to do. And this is to say, if this happens. One, we don't want you to talk to all this media that surrounds you, the McAfee show. You got to cut off on that, and things might fall into place. But another thing that I want them to do too is saying, listen, we're only committing to you for 1 year. For 1 year. I have a hard time believing that he would come in and say, I'll be a backup to McCarthy and mentor and, things like that. That is not his MO. His MO is, it's me, it's all about me. I don't give a crap about what anyone else thinks. This is how I want to conduct it. I want you to get this person, that person, this person. I think he would be an absolute distraction to the Minnesota Vikings. He would be a locker room cancer. I'm going to say it because this man has proven that it is all about him. That's how he conducted it in New York. And guess what? He fell right on his face. He got his coach fired. He tries to bring in Devontae. And guess what? They were awful. Absolutely, positively awful. This is different from Favre because at least Favre wasn't a jackass and would, try to gain all this attention by saying outlandish things like Aaron Rodgers has done. He's got this whole enigma thing, this ayahuasca BS. I mean, the guy can't even keep a freaking girlfriend. He's gone through how many girlfriends now? He can't keep... Danica Patrick, gone. Shailene Woodley, gone. Who was the other one? Olivia Munn, gone. You cannot trust this individual. He is proven that he only cares about himself, and he will not change. That's why I am so out on this. And JJMcCarthy has been laser focused on being the guy. If you go away from that now, what does that do to confidence and or, the future and whatnot? That tells me, okay, the Vikings don't trust McCarthy enough. I think they do. I think they're all in. They're pushing their chips and saying, this is what we're adding for you. This is what we have. We have Fries. We've added to Kelly. We've got a lot of good D tackles as well with Allen, with Hargrave. This is best suited for JJ McCarthy, not Aaronrodgers. He would be a distraction. Kwesi and KOC do not want that for this team. They are trying to get this team to the Super Bowl and win one. Aaronrodgers does not fit that mold. At the time when Brett Favre came in, I mean, this was a no-brainer. Tavares and Sage Rosenfels were terrible in training camp. And the Vikings knew, we got to do something. This will not end well for us. And they went out and did that. With this isn't a situation to where you look at it, it's like, oh, this is our 1 year. This is our 1 year. We got to do something. No, this isn't your 1 year. You've added all these pieces to give yourself a chance. I mean, and maybe they make a playoff run. I mean, I'm not going to go as far as to say Super Bowl. I'm not trying to get all, purple drunk here. But this is making out to be McCarthy's the guy. This is how we're going to roll. This is how JJ McCarthy is going to progress for these Minnesota Vikings. So I was a little concerned at first, but I will say that the percentage has gone up a little bit about the possibility of him coming in. Now, Voldy, I will say to make your point, if he were agreed to be a backup and not be a distraction and help JJ McCarthy, I'd be all for it. I'd be good. He understands where his place is and everything like that. But knowing this guy, I just don't see him doing that. That's just my thing with Aaronrodgers. I don't trust Aaronrodgers. That's the main thing of this for me. So I am very big on JJ McCarthy. I think we all are. I mean, all of us are. We think that JJ McCarthy is going to be the guy, and that's the main thing that we want to see with this Minnesota Vikings team. So Skull Zone says, JJ McCarthy should be the man in Minnesota.
Agreed.
So that's
bring
we're on
back Case Keenum if you need to.
And we got Tate too. I mean, look at that. I mean, we got
Put Tate out there.
Yeah, there you go. So I think, and again, I got to check the X machine just to make sure, and nothing popping up that I missed or anything like that. Okay, we're good. So with that being said, let's just focus on who we do have, gentlemen. The Minnesota Vikings made some awesome moves these past few days. Many of them. Let's talk about the three for sure that, let's go with the four. The first signing, I feel like, was IsaiahRrodgers from the Philadelphia Eagles. He played very well for the Eagles this past year. Mm-hmm. The year before that, he was suspended for the whole year without pay because he was gambling. I don't think that's going to happen again, especially when kwesiadofomensah is experienced in that arena of all these, deals and things like that. But you add a guy to the secondary because you didn't know if you were going to have, Byron Murphy back, if you're going to try and go out and get one of those top corners like a djreed or Carlton Davis or whoever. So they add him 2 years, $15 million. Jonathanallen was, pretty much Tuesday. Yeah, it was Tuesday that he signed in the morning. He was coming in for a visit with the Vikings. Liked everything. 3 years, $60 million, which is a great deal to bring in a guy who's been very good for Washington. And then Javonhargrave, we got the details to his. He gets 2 years, and I think it was
19.
Was it 9? Yeah, 19 per year, Mikey. I think that's
I think it was 2 years, 19 mil.
Okay,
what I want to guess.
So then they add a guy like Ryankelly in the interior with the O-line and whatnot, and willfries. Would you like a burger or fries with that? I would like fries, actually, to be honest with you. 5 years, $88 million. So, Mikey, what are your thoughts on these couple signings? Is there one that stands out to you the most? Or just go through them? What are your thoughts on some of these guys?
I'll go through them one by one. I mean, Rodgers, I think, is a good pick. We'll see how that one kind of turns out. He did very well for the Eagles, I believe. Right, Eagles, I think. But he's had some issues. We'll see there. I think it's a good pickup. I'd like to see more added to the secondary, especially depending on what happens with Harrison Smith. But we'll see there. The defensive line with Hargrave and Allen, amazing pickups. This front seven turned from what, top 7 to top 2, top 1. Like, I mean, this defensive front seven is very scary. I would never want to go up against this front seven.
True.
Like, it's unbelievable. Like Allen Phillips, Hargrave, Jonathan Grenard, who came off a Pro Bowl season, Ivan Pace, Cashman, Ginkle had an amazing. It's unbelievable, unbelievable. I could gush about the front seven for hours. The biggest pickup, though, I think, is willfries. I don't think there's a question about it. Willfries, 26 years old, Pro Bowl guard, coming off of, coming off of an injury this year, unfortunately, but he's an unbelievable guard. Like, he played in Penn State, so we saw a lot of him in his college days as going against the Gophers and stuff like that, but he's one of the best. He's top 5 in the league. And then to pair him with Ryankelly, who's already a teammate at the Colts, right? He's a little bit older, 31 years, I believe. So we're only have him for, I think it was 2 years, right, Matt?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, 2-year deal. So he's in the tail end of his career because as a center, even as a Pro Bowl center, you can realistically only play till you're like 35, 36 before the wheels fall off with how hard of a position that is to play physically. But he brings a veteran presence into a very young offensive line, looking at it top down. Like, you have Ryankelly, and then the other oldest is Brian O'Neill, I think, at 27, 28. Like, it's a really young core for your offensive line, which is it's just stupendous, really. It's like we haven't had a good core offensive line like this since what? The early Adrian Peterson days, probably.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean, the only position we have to worry about on the offensive line now is the other guard spot, whether Fries plays right or left. I know he played, I believe it was right guard for Indy, but he can play either position. Guard is relatively easy to flip between. The tackles are really the hard spot to flip between left and right. But whoever fits in that guard spot, whether it be Brandell, pray to God it's not Ingram, but whether it be Brandell, whether it be, someone else who we bring in or through the draft, like, this offensive line will protect JJMcCarthy. Like, I have no qualms about this offensive line, like, on paper. We'll see how Darisaw comes back with this injury. I think he is going to be just fine. And, we have to see how willfries and Ryankelly adjust to the system, but the KOC system is not far off for pass protection and run blocking than Indy, really. So I think Kwesi killed it. A+ so far. We're not done. I don't think we're done. So keep your eyes on social medias for the next at least a week. But there's nothing else to be said. This is a crazy offseason. I love it. The only spots I think we have to fill now is that right guard spot, maybe a running back to bring in to kind of spell Aaron Jones, and then the secondary is like kind of up in the air with like, what do we do with Harrison Smith kind of thing, or if we want to add more corner depth or anything like that.
Speaking of which, Skull Zone asked this: Harrison Smith returns or retires? What do you guys think? It's a loaded question.
I know he wants to win a Super Bowl. He like every year he's like done this for what, the past 3-4 years. It's like, I'm coming back for another Super Bowl run, and we've gotten close. We've gotten playoff runs out of him. It's like, I think he's coming back for one final ride. I think this will be the final ride. It won't be. I don't think there's a season after this, but I think he's still playing relatively well enough, to come back and actually do meaningful snaps at the strong safety position. And he's such a huge veteran presence in that locker room, especially now since you lost Cam Bynum. I mean, say what you want about his early days of playing, he got much better as he was a Viking, right? And as a character in the locker room, I think he was second to none. I think everyone saw, the defensive celebrations and how he was in the locker room or any of the socials media's videos. That's a hard thing to lose. I'm hoping someone will step up to replace that because having that in the locker room makes the season a lot easier to play for, for everybody involved, right? But the play will be replaced, I think. Theo Jackson, I think, is a good safety. I think we'll be okay at that position. It's whether or not we find that locker room presence that Cam Bynum brought.
Shield, what do you got?
I definitely say at least one last ride with Harrison Smith. I think, in the last couple of seasons, especially even with that one down year the Vikings had, they still got meaningful plays out of Harrison Smith, and he's been the backbone of that defensive backfield ever since he came into the league. He's made an immediate impact and has followed suit ever since he put on the purple and gold. I feel like, like Mikey said, the last 3-4 seasons, it's been all right. We'll do another year and we make a nice run out of it. And him being that, that veteran voice in that defensive backfield has only allowed some of the young guys that have come in the last couple of years to at least flourish at their position, to know that at least Harrison Smith is right along next to them too. So I definitely say he'll come back this season.
I like it. The only thing that says no to me, and that this is the only thing, is the way that he, after that game against LA, or it was in Arizona, I should add.
Right.
It sounded like a goodbye from Harrison Smith. And this is just me noticing from press conferences and whatnot on the social medias with the videos and whatnot. It says to me, I don't think he would come back after that. But the one thing that kind of intrigues me is what you guys just said. Super Bowl aspirations. It was kind of dwindling. You kind of thought it kind of was the year. It kind of was like a meant-to-be type of thing. And then Darnold craps the bed. Interior line is bad. But the Vikings addressing those needs and also falling back on a guy that they do believe in, it's hard to say no to that. So I'm kind of with you guys. I think he comes back. I really do. I have doubted Harrison Smith before. Mikey, you know this. And I will not start doubting him ever again. I won't. I really won't. He is, he's a guy that I think would give it one more year. And I think him leading the defense, especially the D-backs back there, I think they'd welcome him back with open arms. And Josh Metellus, too, back there helps as well. Put the fries in the bag, bro. I love it. I love it. I like what you're saying about the front seven, but we have to remember that Ivan Pace Jr. is kind of injury-prone, and Cashman also missed games. So do you guys want to see some more linebackers signed? I think that's a fair point.
Wouldn't hurt.
It wouldn't hurt. I think they could look at maybe building that through the draft because, there's been a lot of linebackers that have been, been signed already and whatnot. So that tells me, okay, maybe, but Cashman was the anchor of that defense and was very, very good. The question is, like Skull Zone just said, is, a little injury prone, Pace kind of the same way. But when those guys are in there, they are difference makers. Now, I think they both complement each other well. The question is, and I think a lot of that kind of had to do with the lack of interior pressure that the Vikings did have. Now, Harrison Phillips, I do want to say that I just don't think that's his strength of getting interior pressure, but I think that him being kind of the run stopper, kind of, getting off blocks and whatnot is good. But what Allen gives you and what Hargrave gives you is interior pressure that they lacked. you add that, and it's going to be easier for Pace. It's going to be easier for Cashman. So that's kind of how I look at it. But again, it's not to say that they can't add a guy that could help them. Isn't Jamin Davis still with us, or that was only a 1-year deal? I can't remember. He had a sack against Atlanta when we had him in. So I don't know. Maybe he
got
bringing
Jalen
him
Redmond
back.
too.
Perfect on the line.
Yeah,
with
Redmond played well.
I think he's
some of the snaps.
I think again adding him, the interior looks so good. It looks so good.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's just I agree with the injury bug.
Yeah.
I'm more a fan of Ivan Pace. I think I like him as a undrafted free agent, and that's another thing too that people have to worry about or be cognizant of is it's not only about the draft. The Vikings have done extremely well with undrafted rookie free agents, undrafted signees coming in and out. I mean, Ivan Pace is an undrafted signee. I believe is Jalen Naylor an undrafted signee? One of the wide receivers is around.
He was drafted in like 4th, 5th round or something.
4th, 5th, okay. Yeah. But historically, we've done great. I mean, John Randall, for Christ's sake, the list goes on
Thielen?
and on. Thielen, undrafted, the list goes on about like how good the Vikings have kind of selecting those talents to develop and like bring in to contribute either in special teams or right away like Ivan Pace has. So I'm not so worried about like the play production. It's just like the Skull Zone said, injuries is I kind of think the big thing, but that's more of a depth concern more than bringing in someone of like a starter caliber talent.
Before I get into some other potential guys that they're targeting, and obviously I kind of gave it away with mine, but the main thing is that Kwesi and KOC knew what they had to do this offseason. They knew who they had to target and what to improve. And KOC was I think he had extreme influence on getting the interiors of both sides of the line. I mean, the game is won in the trenches. This is something that has been known to us for a while. You look at what the Eagles did. They have a solid O-line. They had a solid D-line. You look at when the Vikings in 2009, let's throw this out there. Solid O-line, solid D-line, got screwed over with Bountygate, but that's a whole different deal. The main thing is they understood the assignment. Kwesi's like, all right, we got the cap room, let's cook. And after the first day, everyone's like, you couldn't there's guys leaving left and right and everything like that. Just let Kwesi cook. Let him cook, please. And he did. And I believe he really did in this sense as well. So let's get to some potential guys like right now that I think. Mikey, you mentioned it with backup. I still think's a need. Obviously, Daniel Jones is committing career suicide by going to the Colts. I mean, I wouldn't pay him $14 million. That's it. I'm just saying.
It's $16 million, I thought, right?
Is it 16 now?
I thought it was it 14 or it might be 14. It might be 14 with the potential to be 16 or 16 with the potential to be like 18 or 19. I can't remember.
And again, like I think Daniel Jones would be a good backup for us, but apparently he wanted to, he's like, well, I might have a chance against Anthony Richardson, which is a fair point. But again,
the positive of that too, the Vikings do get a compensatory pick for Jones signing somewhere else. So at least there's
which
that.
Is good.
Mm-hmm.
We got that going for us. We do have the compensatory 3rd round pick that we got from Kirko. Oh my God, Kirko Chill.
Oh my God, Kirko Chill.
Giving us 3rd round pick. So thank you, Kirko, for that. But Mikey, are there any other guys that you're kind of like, I'd like to see them kind of make a play at it, or I know there's guys been kind of rumored a little bit. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about him a bunch. Someone like an addition to the wide receiver room. I know we have Justin Jefferson, Jordanaddison, crazy, right? But someone to fit that number 3 spot. I know we have Jalen Naylor there. Used to be KJ Osborne the year before. But like a Cooperkupp would be unbelievable in addition here, right? But even someone like a Keenan Allen we could add. I think he still has some wheels on the bus to provide some slot coverage for us. I know Justin Jefferson plays every position along the route tree. The XYZ, you could throw him even back at running back if you wanted to. But somewhere around there, just to give JJMcCarthy even more weapons to throw to. Like, why not make it just a plethora of options for him? Backup quarterback. We talked about it for half an hour with Rodgers, and we threw some other names like Flacco, like Case Keenum was there, and there's our even infamous Jameis, anything like that. The only two guys I'm very hesitant on, Russell Wilson, because I think Russell Wilson kind of brings the opposite effect of Rodgers. Is like he still brings in like not a toxic thing, but he brings in so much media coverage that like, oh, are they going to play Russell Wilson? Because he's got a pedigree behind him. Where I don't want that against JJ McCarthy when we're kind of just handing him the keys to this offense, like go, like you shouldn't have to worry about anything. And then Rodgers, we talked about at length and why we should or should not bring him in, right? And then on the defensive side, I don't really have a name, unfortunately, but someone in the secondary or even linebacker depth to bring, I think we could add. You got to keep in mind the draft too. So I don't know how likely it is to bring someone in there that's going to bring meaningful reps or meaningful snaps. But somewhere around there, I think would be good. And then I think we did lose a tight end was it either the Jets or someone?
Johnny Munt.
Johnny Munt. Yes, we did lose Johnny Munt.
Man.
I know.
So yeah, I know. It's unfortunate. He was actually a good tight end for us. Played a lot of specialty snaps,
True.
So trying to replace that, I think would be a need as well. Just for in terms of like a blocking tight end. TJ Hawkinson's still there. He's gonna produce. Didn't produce much this year with coming back from the injury, and Josh Oliver obviously as well. But someone in that third slot, I know they'll figure something out, whether it's free agency, unrestricted free agent, signee that comes off the streets or anything like that. Just someone in there. But I don't really have a name. The only names I know right now are wide receiver and quarterback, because that's all we've been talking about.
Yeah, that's true. Voldy, any others that you'd like to maybe see them add? What do you got?
I mean, there's always the big name, like when it comes to interior offensive line. I'm still holding out strong for mehkibecton. I don't know if he did sign as of yet, but having a guard at that size of him, I mean, he's been a force ever since he's come into the league. A couple injuries along the way, but still has been positively, he really advanced his career. Obviously, he was with Philadelphia this past year, and playing under that system with their offensive line is definitely something that brings a lot more to the table than, say, anybody else. But
I have breaking news.
Oh, boy.
I have breaking news. You guys ready?
Oh, boy.
I'm glad that we had this conversation.
There's children in the room. Let me cover
Don't worry. Don't worry.
No.
This is very good.
Oh, boy.
6-time Pro Bowl safety Harrison Smith will return for a 14th NFL season, agreeing to return today on a new contract at age 36. Let's go. Tommy P. Tommy P. with the breaking news. Dirty Harry is back. Yes, let's go.
There we go.
10 million. 10.25 million, whatever you want to. That's the base. Incentives up to 14 mil. Real quick, your thoughts, guys?
Excellent. Excellent. I mean, we talked about it. It's excellent. And I think it's a great thing to bring him back.
Because what's interesting, real quick, what's interesting is that I was scrolling through. This guy you might know very, very well, too, because there was just announced the Ravens released safety Marcus Williams. We all know Marcus Williams, don't we? New Orleans Saints.
Interesting.
You know that one. But now Harry's back. This is great.
Yeah, Harry's back. We have Theo
Welcome
Jackson.
back.
Let's go. Let's go.
Dude.
I mean, I told you guys there was going to be at least one that would happen during this show, and Dirty Harry has returned to your Minnesota Vikings. He's only 36. You know, that's not that bad. That's not bad at all.
I mean, yeah, it just depends on if the speed thing, but he's only really lost like maybe half a step. Maybe you could argue maybe a step.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
36, but that's like 128 in football years. So
exactly. Yeah, I mean,
especially
I think
from a strong safety.
Yeah, I think this is his last year for sure. I don't think there's any.
Yeah, I
questions
think
about it.
after this is
Just keeping that gold jacket in the closet for another year.
Yep.
Let's go, baby. Let's go. So, Voldy, did you have anything else to add to that? I just had to get that out there. So.
It's all about depth, really, is kind of the thing. And we've seen it over the years, of course, now with the Vikings. It's always been depth at the offensive line. And going after a guy like mehkibecton, he's definitely got that starting guard caliber in him, of course, winning a Super Bowl with the Eagles and been, a force on the interior. It's just about adding that depth and bringing that competition on the offensive line, because one way or another, if they do sign him, he's going to play snaps this year, just how the offensive line just continues to get banged up year after year with this offensive line. But if we can get some consistency there with a particular group and the guys that we have signed on top of the veterans that we do have that are still on the young side, could definitely be a much confidence boost for a young quarterback with JJMcCarthy.
We talked about the backups and things like that. I'm a big believer that I think they might get a deal done with Cooperkupp. Kevinoconnell paired with his guy, Cooperkupp, they both won a Super Bowl together in LA and whatnot. I really hope that's the case. The question is, how much is he going to, ask and everything like that. But I think you make that call and you say, listen, we've developed a team to where we're a contender. I don't care what you say, from now until then, the Vikings are a contender with all these signings. And bringing Harry back helps a lot. Voldy, I think for this show specifically, and I know, Mikey, you probably got to get going here, but I do want you here real quick for this. This show has been around ever since Sports Talk with McAllen. It was 2014-ish, 2013, whatever. So it's been here a long time. When Sports Zone started up, there was a specific segment that we did, and I think it's something to where this could come full circle. Voldy is kind of giving me that look of, I know where this is going. Voldy, there's one man that I think would be perfect as a backup for the Minnesota Vikings, and that man would be one infamous Jameis. Let's go.
Bring him in.
Oh boy.
Infamous Jameis. Voldy, just think. We could have a chance to get him on this show. We could have an apology segment. We could.
I know a guy who's married to a gal that's like second cousins with Jameiswinston. So
let's do it. Let's do it.
Pipeline. We have a pipeline if it were to come true.
I'm telling you, man, just think of how great that would be. Oh, my God. Infamous Jameis on this show just to bring everything together for an apology segment. Because he's been great. I've enjoyed everything that he's been doing as of late.
The back half of his career has been fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That snow game that he had this year was unbelievable.
Yes. And he killed it. He was awesome.
Yeah.
Mentoring JJMcCarthy, giving him that positive enthusiasm. Let's do it. Yes. Screw it.
He's going to eat that W.
Tate loves it too. That's what we want to see. So, with that being said, oh man, this was too much fun. We could go for hours on this as well. I know Mikey's got to get going. He's got bowling going on. But, Mikey, thanks again for hopping on. There's going to be more news to come. We'll be talking with you, and we'll figure out where we go from here. Cooperkupp, infamous Jameis, Gardner Minshew, maybe? Who knows?
It's exciting. It's an exciting time.
You gotta love it. You have to love it. So, Mikey, we will let you go. Skol Vikes, and we will be in touch throughout these next few days with all these news. So, thanks for coming on, man.
Oh, not a problem. Have a good one, guys.
We'll see ya.
See ya.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, then Tate, I love it with the just saying goodbye. Hey, let's go, man. He wants Infamous Jameis. He wants Infamous Jameis, too. So, clap, yes. Voldy, that was fantastic. We had a blast with talking Minnesota Vikings, with Mikey and whatnot. Free agency still going. I will keep up to date on specific, maybe other moves coming on as well. So we will do that. But we're still talking NFL free agency, just not specifically Vikings. Skol Zone, I promise we will get to your question here in a second. But after that, we'll talk some more Minnesota Wild. Hockey's happening with the Wild. They've acquired some guys, could potentially help them in the long run here. Kaprizov is getting somewhat closer to returning. And then Ovi, our guy, Ovechkin, down to single digits for the goal record. We'll talk about that. And then we've got Tiger undergoing Achilles surgery. Doesn't sound good. Let's just put it like that. We'll talk about that. And to wrap things up for ARA, Rich Rodriguez bans players from using TikTok dancing. Don't do it. Don't do the juju. Don't do the juju. That's all I gotta say. So, let's get it going. What's up? Absurd or approved?
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, Voldy, Tate, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, of course, the world of the NFL has been turned upside down after the last couple of days over the weekend into the start of a new league year, which has included free agent frenzy. Number of teams releasing longtime players, other teams picking up some longtime players, but will be sporting new uniforms for the upcoming season. But of course, with all the moves that have been made and all the deals that have been locked down as of late, which do you see has been the most significant free agent signing and or acquisition to start the early signing period? I know there have been some trades that have been very interesting, but what have you seen has been the most, most significant free agent move to date as of now, as of currently 8 p.m. Central on Wednesday?
Yeah. Oh man, there's a lot. I mean, that's that being said, what was kind of crazy, and I know for sure that there's, I definitely wanted this guy, but with the amount of money that the Vikings would have to put out, and getting two studs in the interior really helped too. But Milton Williams to the Patriots. Yes, originally, he was going to go to the Panthers, but that changed fairly quickly. I think whatever happened, if the Patriots upped their offer or something like that, I think that's a big signing. I think adding a guy like that to the interior of the Patriots, especially when they really haven't been the same since Brady has left and whatnot. Right. And, they're just trying to find, they're doing the whole rebuild thing. I thought that one was a big one in itself. And then not to downplay anything with this, but I still think it's a big one. Samdarnold to the Seattle Seahawks. $33 million per year, 3-year deal and whatnot. I'm glad the Vikings did not bite on that one because we wouldn't have gotten who we got in order to, get anything, get some of these guys and add to defense as well as our offensive line. So I think that one was another big one. But Milton Williams kind of going with that big deal, I think, was interesting in itself. Carlton Davis is another big one that landed with a pretty good team as well. Who was it? Wasn't the Jets. It was shoot. I had it too and I just lost it. Oh well. Anyway, I'll think of it. That's another one I think that could be thrown out there as well. There's still guys that are still around that a former Minnesota Viking, or couple actually, Panthers are signing Dan Chesnia, former Viking, with the Panthers, going back with the Panthers, and Amir Smith-Marset staying with the Giants, which is interesting in itself. So, yeah, but the big one, I feel like Milton Williams. I would probably say that's probably the big one that really kind of caught my eye more and just kind of showed, like, hey, the Patriots are trying to, build something here with Mike Vrabel and whatnot and adding some weapons. I think the biggest competition the Vikings would have if they were to attain Cooperkupp is the Patriots. They need a top target guy in New England. So I could see that happening. I would probably say the most significant is I got to go with New England. They've had a really good free agency period. And I will say, with Milton Williams, they added Harold Landry, who's a very good pass rusher from Tennessee. That's a very good player. So there's a lot to like about their defense, I will say. Christian Gonzalez is a solid player too. So yeah, I would go with the Milton Williams just because it kind of had them sign some other guys too. So Voldy, what do you got?
Well, I'm glad you decided to talk about the Patriots just based off of, instead of me going that route, I was actually going to go around the route of Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh's made some very interesting moves. Yeah. Of course, they're still wondering who's going to throw them the football this year because we know that Justin Fields signed in the Jets organization. And Russell Wilson is still taking out some feelers. Of course, he's looks like he's going to be going to doing some interviews with Cleveland, and I believe there's one other team that he was looking at, the Giants, I believe it is. But the fact that the Steelers went out and made a move to acquire DK Metcalf from Seattle, very interesting move based off of what we've seen from them the last couple of years. Of course, they do have George Pickens. He's been mainly their number one wide receiver. And, that's very interesting based off of, they've been a team that's still kind of stuck in their ways. The old schools using the run to set up the pass with trying to use a little bit of ground and pound. But with the way that the offense tried to open up a little bit this past year, was based off of, trying to get the ball move and, at least get Russell Wilson some throws down the field with George Pickens. Of course, they do have Pat Freiermuth as well, but adding another weapon significantly like DK Metcalf and George Pickens, a couple, guys that can definitely take the top off the defense in multiple areas. I mean, you get Pickens, maybe move him into the slot and allow DK on the outside one-on-one. You got Freiermuth who could still make catches over the middle. What are they going to do with their running game on top of it? Of course, they do have Warren, who has been a little bit more steadily when it comes to their running offense. Of course, now we're seeing with the able of Najeeharris. Are they going to bring him back or let him go elsewhere? There's still a lot of questions in that area, but at least they're being proactive enough to at least be active in this free agency period as opposed to letting things slip right on by. Defensively, I did see that they did pick up Darius Slay, which could be a nice added boost. That defensive secondary could use a little bit of bolstering in a couple of different places, of course, with a lot of their guys looking on the backside of their careers on top of it. Very nice to see at least them go after a guy like Darius Slay, who still says he's got some meaningful years of football behind him, and hopefully they can at least be a contender in that AFC North, which, is definitely no slouch even on bad years. They're still very, very, still very competitive. And with the Steelers too, if they can continue to, put things together and at least build off of what they've had the last couple seasons. I don't see why they don't make a run at the AFC with, of course, it being completely log jammed with all these good teams. But I think it's very. I think the Steelers have been quite active. I mean, you can make arguments for just the pump and dumps that we've seen out of Washington, San Francisco. Of course, we talked about the retooling and the rebuilding with New England. The lack of movement that we've seen out of Miami. Are they going to, try to make a push, or are they going to stand by the sidelines and just hope for something to come their way? I mean, there's been a lot of teams that have been quiet in the early goings, but I think seeing Pittsburgh kind of make an early statement, at least get a couple guys to build off of. They've got a few guys in-house that need some new deals too. Definitely could be interesting to see how they put that all together for another season.
Yeah, and, again, Steelers are kind of a team that, I think a lot of fans are frustrated with how Tomlin's handled offense and whatnot, and I think that's, interesting that, they go out and get a premier guy like Metcalf and add him with Pickens. There's going to be a lot more fights, I will say that.
Just got to figure out who's going to throw him the football, that's all.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. So, they can take Rodgers. It's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah,
I don't
go
care.
right ahead.
Skull Zone, I did want to quick get to his thing for a second here. What do you guys think about the Bears, Lions, and Packers going forward? Will Ben Johnson unlock Caleb's potential the way he did with Jared Goof? I'm glad he put Goof there because I feel like not enough people do that one there. But real quick, I will say, and I'll go quick with it since we got other stuff to get to. But Green Bay, I'm not saying it's just because it's Green Bay. I have not been impressed by some of their acquisitions. Nate Hobbs, he's okay. He's not good. He's not great. They added that Banks from 49ers, the guard.
Sure.
His PFF grade is terrible. I mean, his pass blocking, his run blocking. I don't know what the hell they're doing. Jair wants out. They can't find a trade partner for him. I think Green Bay is kind of teetering a little bit. Just saying. The Lions, I think djreed was a nice signing. Other than that, there really hasn't been anyone on their team that I've really been like, oh wow, that's gonna hurt us. They let go of Zadarius, so now Zadarius can go to the Bears and get his revenge game on the team on your division.
He'll complete the NFC North the gauntlet.
The gauntlet, exactly, and
it's like Robert Tonyan.
Yeah, and apparently he is going to the Chiefs. I did hear about that with Tanya.
There you go.
And then the Bears. I ain't worried about the Bears. They got a good. But here's the reason why I do say that is because, Mitch for one. But again, the offensive line they needed to. They did the same thing, kind of what we did with the Vikings, is interior offensive, defensive, and whatnot.
Exactly.
But Joe Tooney's getting up there in age. Dahlman's a good center. I do like him. Jackson, he's okay. I mean, he's okay. I just don't look at that as premier, but that should help. Voldy, what do you think of the other NFC North teams?
I'm just going to go ahead and say it right now. I'm not sleeping on the Bears this season. I'm glad we got them this past year, got them when they were down. I mean, they almost came back and won against the Vikings in Chicago this year, and that was definitely something to make note. I feel like with Ben Johnson and Caleb getting in that mix, you give Caleb a full offseason to understand the playbook and at least get, acclimated with this offensive-minded coach. It could open up a few things, or at least now that he'll be a little bit more comfortable. You had your rookie season, the hype and the hoopla after being the number 1 overall draft pick, and of course the hard knocks leading up into it. I mean, I think they'll be interesting to watch. It won't be, I want to say they're going to be a trap game for a lot of teams, depending on how good they're going to be this year. They add that experience on the offensive line That's going to be crucial for them. Young enough at a few key skill positions is also going to be much better for them. Looking at the other side, Green Bay, I mean, a lot of their guys that have been playmakers the last few years, getting up in age, have already left. Young wide receiver core, a little bit inconsistency, but still, I'm not overly worried. With Detroit, turnover on their coaching staff, and of course, a couple of guys came out injured towards the end of the year, and just what happened to them in the playoffs. I know that they're still going to be extremely competitive, and again, it's their division that they've won back-to-back years. Again, I'm not sleeping on them. It'll be a very interesting year for the NFC North yet again. But, there's a lot of things we can look at with the free agency and, of course, with the draft still coming up, too.
I think Ben Johnson's going to change a lot of things with Chicago. That's why I think they're going to be tough as well, like you were saying, too. So, I mean, they're definitely a team to look out for, but I could see this falling apart just because I want to see Mitch get angry again. That was enjoyable. Anyway, let's move on from NFL. Let's head over to the NHL. Voldy.
Well, the world of the NHL come and went, did the trade deadline, and the Minnesota Wild, sitting in that third spot in the Central Division, vying for a playoff spot, did make a couple of moves pre-deadline this past week, which did include the reacquisition, if you will, of Gustav Nyquist to the Minnesota Wild in exchange for a 2026 second-round draft pick to the Nashville Predators, and also taking 50% of the salary. Of course, previously, Nyquist did play for the Wild. I believe this was, he played 3 games for the Wild in a 2022-23 before being traded there from Columbus. But still, having him back on the team is no unfamiliar surprise there. While also the the Wild did picked up Justin Brazeau from the Boston Bruins on the eve of the trade deadline, while sending a couple of centers and another draft pick, a 2026 sixth-round draft pick. They did send young centers Jacob Lacko, who originally came from Boston, to the Wild, and Murat Kuznetsov. All that being thrown into the mix. Nothing earth-shattering at the trade deadline for the Minnesota Wild, who still continue to tread water, even with the absences of Kirill Kaprizov. You have Ryan Hartman serving his suspension, even though he'll be coming back. And even Joel Eriksson Ek is still out week to week at this point with a lower body injury. But with everything being thrown into the mix with the trades that have taken place for the Minnesota Wild, is it absurd or approved? Will these moves help the Wild in their playoff push coming down the stretch of the regular season?
They definitely need it. I mean, it's as simple as that. But I will say, I think Nyquist, being back with the Minnesota Wild helps a lot. This is something to where, they made the moves that they can, make right now. I mean, it's not till after the season when all that's cleared out with the Suter and Breezy contracts and whatnot. It's one of those things where they're trying to free up some stuff as well. The guy from the Bruins, I think, can be an asset. He's a younger guy. I think he would fit quite well with the Wild and what Billy G wants to do with this team. Do I think that they can make an impact? Well, it depends on the health of Joel Eriksson Ek and Kirill Kaprizov. The one thing that I want to see with the Wild is when they make these trades, I want to see an impact, and I want to see these guys really kind of step up and help this team put this notion that they want to be contenders, they want to make noise in the playoffs, and they got to get out of that damn first round. I mean, it's that simple. So to answer the question, I would say I'm going to give it my stamp of approval because I'm feeling generous. I'm feeling like they're going to do what they need to do in order to get to where they want to go. Hopefully they can make some noise in the playoffs, and hopefully no more injuries rack up for them. But these, with Nyquist, I really like Nyquist. I thought he played pretty well when he was here. Now that he's back, I think will help as well. So, is it Brazeau?
I think it's Brazeau. Yeah.
Brazeau. So
I don't know.
Brazeau, I think he needs to play. Yeah, he's played pretty well. I mean, was it 10 goals, 10 assists, things like that? I mean, he's all right. He's all right. It's not bad. So hopefully you can make a difference here. So stamp of approval. Voldy, what do you got?
I think it's really all just at this point, like I've been saying all year, it's just about adding depth. Of course, with Kirill and Joel Eriksson Ek out, you need that veteran experience, and that's what you get with Gustav Nyquist. Really helpful on the penalty kill at the same time. Should be able to slide in really nice right in the middle of the lineup, too. Of course, you do still have Marco Rossi, and you do have Boldy on top of it. Adding that veteran presence with Gustav Nyquist, again, will be helpful. I mean, he's been in the league all the way back since 2008, or at least when he was drafted by the Detroit Red Wings. So that'll be a nice piece for the Wild to have there. Back once again and with Brazeau, I mean, a forward, he's 27, 6'6". He's able to get out in front of the net a little bit to clog up some space there. But this one was pretty much with the Bruins making moves. They're just trying to unload as much as they can, especially with a down year that they've had. Brazeau is an unrestricted free agent after the season and just under $750,000 on the salary cap against the Bruins at the time too. I feel like these guys could definitely make an impact in a short amount of time with the playoff push coming up. It would be nice to have Kirill and Eriksson Ek back before the playoffs start too. But I think, excuse me, I think it's got my stamp of approval. I feel like having these guys into the mix will be a nice depth piece for the Wild here, especially with the young guys that they do have and guys that have seen a lot more time with the injuries that have taken place. Will definitely pay off for the Wild here coming down the stretch.
One would hope, and they do play tomorrow against the Rangers. So we will keep up to date with that, and hopefully those guys can make an impact. So, all right, next one, Voldy.
Well, we say in the world of the NHL, we are down to single digits in the Great Chase. That is right. Alexander Ovechkin scored his 886th goal, 9 shy of breaking the all-time NHL goal scored record held by Wayne Gretzky. And we are now on OV Watch 2025, with it being the Great Chase that has taken place. Now, a lot of games still have taken place. This also coming from the same guy that broke his fibula some time ago and was only out 3 weeks with that broken leg. 33 goals on the season, now amassed 1,600 career points. Last night, I believe he even had 4 assists in the win for the Washington Capitals on the road. They were out on the West Coast as of late. But they were a team, too. The Capitals had nobody selected to the Four Nations face-off, so they've been well rested down the stretch here for the Capitals in a make-or-break season for OV and for the Capitals on top of it. So coming up here in a couple of weeks, the Capitals will be making a trip to St. Paul. That'll be March 27th, and I know a few people that have tickets to that contest at the soon-to-be defunct XL Energy Center. But is it absurd or approved? 9 goals to break the record, and we are 15 days away from Ovechkin making his way to St. Paul. Is it absurd or approved? Will Ovi shatter the record before coming to St. Paul on the 27th of March?
So 9 shy, and he's got a couple of weeks here.
8 to tie, 9 to break the record. He's got 33 goals this year already.
Gosh, it's tough to pinpoint because you want to see see him get it and whatnot, and it wouldn't surprise me if he got it before then. But he's amazing, and he's an older guy now. Mm-hmm. But for him to do it for this long and be that effective. And I think, he's going to try like hell to get it. The question is, will he get it before he comes here to the XL Center? It's hard for me to say. I think shortly after that game. I'm going to say absurd. And I don't say that as a knock or anything like that. I just think, people expect it so soon. It's like, oh, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And it might. And it's very, apparent. But I'm going to put my chips down and say, you know what? I'll say it'll happen after that game against the Minnesota Wild. But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Absurd statement, the whole deal. But he's going to get it. I think he's going to shatter it. And it'll just be a little after that game. So, but who knows? Maybe he gets it the game off of against the Wild. So, but we'll see. But yeah, I'm going to say absurd. I think he'll get it after that game. So, Voldy, what do you got?
I look back at the history of great sports moments, and not a lot of them have taken place in the state of Minnesota. The ones that come to mind, Tony Dorsett's 99-yard touchdown run at the Metrodome Monday Night Football, 99 yards and a half. To tie the NFL record. Of course, the Vikings also had a 99-yard touchdown in the Metrodome as well. Gus Frerotte to Bernard Berrien on Monday Night Football. You look at Cal Ripken Jr. hitting his 3,000th hit in the Metrodome. Frank Thomas hitting his 500th career home run as a member of the Blue Jays in the Metrodome. But nothing comes to mind. You also have Kobe Bryant surpassing Michael Jordan in the all-time points list at the Target Center too, but nothing really as significant in the world of hockey. Of course, you do have the Minnesota State high school hockey tournaments as well that have been a great in-house event for the since the dawn of time. But having Ovechkin breaking the record in Minnesota with Wayne Gretzky and Gary Bettman involved. I know that they're starting to get on the road here a little bit. I know Bettman is starting to travel. Wayne Gretzky said that when he gets within 5 goals, he'll start following Ovi around. But to have it take place in 2 weeks at the XL Energy Center would probably be a moment in time that everybody that was in attendance or watching that game would never forget. Joe Clements has got tickets to that game, and he would not sell them unless somebody put up 6 or 7 numbers behind a starting figure for those tickets. He's been a season ticket holder for a number of years, but I feel with Ovechkin, he's been turning it on lately, man. He's got he's got the record for most empty net goals, 65. He's got 8 already this season. People say those are cheapies, but hey, goals are goals. If you don't like them, try and stop them. I say that he breaks the record. He ties the record and he breaks it at the XL Energy Center, March 27th. You can put it on the books and it'll be one hell of a ride there. And Minnesota can have its own little piece of history with Ovi breaking the record at the XL Energy Center.
Let's throw it out there. Might as well. I love the whole day. We'll see if it happens. And yeah, Joe's not getting rid of those.
Nope.
There's no way. No way. Knowing him. So
not unless there's a couple of commas and a few extra zeros.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Even then.
But if it were a chance to meet like Troy Aikman, since he's a Cowboys fan, or Emmitt Smith, I mean, maybe he would say. Anyway, we'll see. It's all good. All right, next one, Voldy.
Well, this one we will be heading to if I was better prepared for this one. Yes, the world of professional golf. And yes, unfortunately, it was announced that Tiger Woods will be going under surgery and had surgery to repair a ruptured left Achilles tendon while he was training and practicing at his home, the age at 49 for Tiger Woods. Number of surgeries have taken place in the last handful of years, of course, with his lower legs and, of course, his back. And, of course, being a member of course, the TGL with the offseason for the PGA Tour, now ramping back up. Now this really all starts to throw things into the mix with the year that Tiger's had this year. Of course, unfortunately, with the passing of his mother earlier this year. and a number of things with the off season with the TGL too, and of course the number of surgeries he's had in the last few years. Now, all these injuries stacking up with the surgeries and just the inconsistent play that we've seen out of him for a number of years. Now, with Tiger Woods still in hunt, of course, for the all-time, major wins list on top of it, but the numbers are going up in age, but the number of wins in the calendar year are going down against Tiger Woods. Is it absurd or approved? Will we ever see Tiger Woods win another major championship on the PGA Tour?
Well, after the whole situation that he had with, one, crashing his car, and then before that, his wife and infidelity, things like that. We all kind of thought that was probably it and whatnot, but he went out in the 2019 Masters, I believe, and won it. Hunt's is not going to like this comment, but you know what? That's okay. No, I don't think. I think it's got my stamp of approval. He's had a lot of injuries these past few years, especially during the COVID and things like that, his car, and but he really hasn't been the same. I think Father Time is catching up to him, and I think it's sad to see, but at the same time, it's like, what more do you have to prove? I know you want to chase Nicholas and all that stuff and whatnot, but he's had a big impact on this game. With this injury, he's had back issues, leg issues, things like that, and this just adds more to the list of what he's dealing with. So I'm kind of at the point of, I think it's time to maybe start considering, maybe stepping down a little bit, maybe not doing as much golf and whatnot. Not saying he should join the, be with the older guys and whatnot, but he knows that time's coming. I think he's openly admitted that. I just think that once Father Time catches up to you, it's hard to get back to the dominance that he had back in the day. So yeah, I gotta unfortunately say it. At this point, it's just gotten to that point of, his son could, take that up and, be similar to him in many regards too. So, I think I think it's got my stamp of approval. I hate to say it. I do hate to say it because Tigers is just amazing and it's tough to see, but yeah, it's got my stamp of approval. So, Voldy, what do you got?
Yeah, I just feel with Tiger and all the surgeries that he's had and all just the lingering effects of all the injuries on top of it. He's had so many surgeries on his lower legs, his back. Just all that is stacking up and it's not making his life. I want to say it's not making his life any easier, but in 10, 15 years, I'm just starting to wonder if he'll be able to walk regularly, even with all the amount of torque and trouble that he's had with his back and his legs and his ankles over the last, handful of years, and how that's all going to affect him down the stretch of his career. I think now I'm not really sure about the minimum requirement in age, but hanging out with all the old guys on the senior tour wouldn't be exactly such a bad thing, or the champions tour, whatever they call it nowadays. It used to be the senior tour, but I think they kind of classed it up a little bit. Yeah. Still can be quite competitive. A lot of the old guys still, really mix it up. John Daly. You've got, who's the Tom Norman or something like that. But you get all those guys in the mix too. They're still quite competitive even at their advanced age. And then you can still also, have those ceremonial moments at the Open, at the Masters, and all those events on top of it. You can still have that, but to be competitive with all the young guys, with the John Rahms, with the Keegan Bradleys, with the Lucas Aubergs as well, that's not happening, even if it was Tiger 10 years ago when he was still hanging in there by a wing and a prayer. But he's still a figurehead in the world of golf, and he can definitely still leaving his mark on the game of golf with all these young guys too. But at the competition level, it's not going to be happening anytime soon. It's got my stamp of approval as well. Tiger's not winning a major championship anytime soon, unless there's some sort of miracle from the skies where the entire field, drops dead from food poisoning or something like that one night. Still not going to be enough for Tiger.
Well, and then in April 2023, just looking at this too, subtalar fusion procedure because post-traumatic arthritis in his right ankle. If you're having arthritis already and was it 51 he is right now or 49? I can't remember.
49, I believe.
49, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so 49. Yeah, I mean, it's sad to say, but you got to be realistic at this point. So, yeah, I think it's getting to be time. So,
yep.
All right, last one, Voldy.
Well, in the world of college football, a no-nonsense head coach by the name of Rich Rodriguez, Rich Rod, if you will, at West Virginia University, will be wanting his players to show up on time, work hard, and play their best. And just remember one thing. Don't dance on TikTok. In his statement that was released earlier this week as well, he was quoted as saying, "I'm just banning them from dancing on it. It's like they can try have a hard edge or whatever, and you're in there in your tights dancing on TikTok. Ain't quite the image of our program all they want." Now, he's not saying he's banning TikTok altogether. You can still look at TikTok. Just don't be dancing on TikTok as well. Of course, with Rich Rod, no nonsense kind of head coach. He's a bit of a hard ass to say the least, but he is a winning hard ass, and that's definitely one thing that West Virginia has been needing over the last few years. And of course, with the world of social media and the platform that has grown, even with the likes of Heisman Trophy winner Travis Hunter, Ashton Genty, Dylan Raiola as well, among the college football players that have posted TikToks dancing on the platform as well. And of course, the millions upon millions of people that do post on TikTok also, with a lot of college athletes in the mix too. Is it absurd or approved? With this being a statement made by Rich Rod, is Rich Rod single-handedly going to save this next generation of players by banning them from dancing on TikTok?
Well, I know one person who's not a fan of that is probably Juju Smith-Schuster. But, and again, like, there are some guys that do some weird stuff on there. Does it affect their play? Or, but if he wants a hard edge to it, I don't see a problem with it. I think, a lot of nowadays is a lot of social medias. And I think Rich Rod is kind of showing like, hey, let's have a hard edge. Let's not be these soft people doing all these dances and doing the, peekaboo, peekaboo weird stuff. I kind of like this. It's got my stamp of approval. It's just like, just don't be dancing around acting like an idiot. Let's look like a hard-ass football team, like you were just saying. So I kind of like this. It's got my stamp of approval because he's been known to win. And the way that they've done that is hard work from guys like Pat White, Steve Slayton. I mean, there's a lot of Mountaineers that, had a lot of success under Rich Rod and did a
Pat
great...
Pat McAfee.
Owen Schmidt. And
Geno
then
Smith.
Geno. And then there was Tavon Austin, another one, too. So they're sitting, pretty good with all these players, and he's got the resume to show, like, hey, guys, I know what I'm doing here, and I'm looking forward to seeing kind of the resurgence of Almost Heaven, West Virginia. So it'll be, I like it.
It's on my bucket list. I'd love to go see a game at West Virginia in Morgantown.
I would. It's awesome. I would definitely check that out. So, it's got my stamp of approval. Voldy, what do you got?
I just think nowadays everybody's worried about clout chasing, getting their clicks and their likes and all that too. I mean, especially with the growth of social media when it comes to, of course, with NIL and also, college athletes too. A lot of them are putting their focus on social media, of course, but maybe some of them a little bit too much focus on top of it. If they're the best player in the conference and best player in the country too, they don't really have to worry about it. Of course, we saw it with Travis Hunter and a lot of other guys that have definitely been posting a lot and continue to show their production on the field because they are truly one-of-one athletes. Now, you get some of these guys that are on the fringe that are trying to beef up their social media, but also trying to find their way on the field. Maybe they should pick one or the other. And Rich Rod putting out this just focus on the game and the likes will come at a later time. I am all for it. And I definitely love seeing what, Rich Rod going to be back on the sideline at West Virginia. That is something that just makes so much sense in the world. You can't think, West Virginia football without Rich Rod and those great years that they had back in the early, the late aughts, if you will. With some of those guys that we did mention and them competing not only for, of course, just, Big East titles, but of course they were at one point in the mix for a national championship appearance, but also breaking the BCS too. I single-handedly think as well that Rich Rod is hopefully going to spurn a little bit of a movement. I'm sure some other programs on the inside say, hey, don't worry about your clicks, worry about what's being played out on the field, while other programs may take a chapter out of the Rich Rod book and apply it to their program. It's got my stamp of approval as well. I think Rich Rod knows winning and knows hopefully that he can hopefully get the best out of these kids here for a competitive year out of West Virginia.
That is sure the hope. I just think they're going to be much better. They're going to look, like the old West Virginia of old. Voldy, the Vikings had a quick tweet. That'll do for Eric. Great job with ARA. Before we get into Shield shoutouts real quick, you're going to appreciate this just because it's always fun to, quote this. The Minnesota Vikings posted just kind of like a little tribute thing of Harrison Smith coming back. Their first sentence, and you'll love this. By God, that's Harrison Smith's music! With the JR Jim Ross.
I just saw your tweet, dude. It's like, oh, that's fantastic. Good God almighty, he's broken in half. Stop the damn match.
The Vikings just know. They know it. They get it. That's awesome. I'll have to check out that highlight video.
The Vikings cooked. They cooked.
And Kwesi was like,
that's what the kids
one more year. And that's why they brought the Hitman back. So we're happy he is back. So, Shield shoutouts. There are some birthdays to get to. So let's get it going with some Shield shoutouts.
Shield shoutouts.
All right, it is time for Shield shoutout. Shield, who you shouting out tonight?
Well, we do have a couple belated birthdays that have taken place in the last, 72 hours. That including Kase Vold, who turned 4 years old, believe it or not, on Sunday. And then also creative consultant, Mrs. Sara Tews-Vold, celebrated her birthday yesterday, but women don't like when you announce how old they turn, so we'll just say that she had a birthday yesterday. She's 31, by the way. Nonetheless, a couple belated birthdays, and the sleeping one sitting down right here next to me, or on my lap right now, Tate Paul Jacob will be turning 1 year old next week, believe it or not. Next Tuesday. Tate's going to be 1 year old, and time sure does fly. Do also have to send a word of congratulations and shout out to the Dodge County Wildcats girls hockey program. Captured the first ever state title in program history, a area of program that me and my brother DJ played out of in our younger years. We moved on to bigger and better things, but always still fun to check in on the fun of the Dodge County program. Of course, a mutual friend of ours, Dana Rasmussen, was an assistant coach on the program and captured a state title with the girls. So congrats to the Dodge County girls on winning a state championship. That's going to do it for Shield Shoutouts this week.
I love it. I love the post that you guys had for not only Kase and our creative consultant, Sara and Tews-Vold. And, yeah, it's hard to believe. March is kind of the Vold's month, I feel like.
Yeah,
you know?
I know. We tried our best, but it still didn't work. Yeah.
March is good. I like March.
Mm-hmm.
March Madness is coming up, too, so we got that going for us. One more thing before we do our, usual to end the show. Voldy, I do want to reiterate real quick, backup quarterback, hopefully, is one infamous Jameis. Yes! Get it done! Just for the show. Bring him in. Bring him in, Voldy. Come on!
I think there's probably another elephant in the room we should probably address. The sick attire that I am sporting here tonight. So this hat that I have, the hunting hat, if you will, that's right. That's MinneZona Sports Live in camo. This is the only one in existence right now. Now, I picked up a couple of loose ones at work and had them done up, and I'm hopeful that in the future I can grab some more and get them done up, and we can get them sold to some fine friends. And this pullover right here also, it's not just a one of one. It's not a one of two. It's actually a one of three. Now, you can see the MinneZona Sports Live right here on the left chest, but on the arm as well. There you go. MZ Sports Live right there for you. So a little 2-for-1 there. I do have a couple. Now, they're both 2XLs. So for those that are of a normal stature, we'll certainly say, or healthy human beings, will certainly say, hit me up. I'll see what I can do. Maybe get them out to you for a fair price. So I've got, this one's mine. So there's two others.
Yeah,
first
there's
come,
two.
first serve.
Yeah.
There's two left. First come, first serve. But this hat right here, it's a one of one right now. So I'm hopeful that we can get some more in the future, because I know there's probably a bunch of people that would love to get their hands on some camo MinneZona Sports Live.
Oh, yeah, that is for sure. And when Voldy sent it off, I was like, damn, that's good stuff. It's good stuff right there. So, yeah, keep in tune with that. And then, obviously, we got these bad boys as well, the MinneZona hats. We're getting into that spring as well, so make sure you get ready for that. I do have something on the way for Voldy and myself that I think you guys might find interesting. We will reveal that once I get it. Might take what's today? Today's the 12th. 24th-ish, I think it's supposed to come in. So I will keep in tune with that. But we got sweatpants, shirts, stickers, hats, the whole kit and caboodle, tumblers. I mean, tumblers have been going pretty quick, too. Stickers as well, if you want to put them on your car, on your laptop, wherever. It doesn't matter. We got stickers as well, so make sure you check that out. And then thank you to National Fleet Graphic, Crown Rental, Tyler Knudsen, and check out W2 Performance, Will Rattel, www.w2performance.com. Make sure you check out his YouTube channel as well. Will is kept up to date on many things there. Still ripped out of his mind. And make sure you check out the Brotherly Ballers podcast. A little bit in the off season right now with those guys, Tyler Herman and Jack Vickers. But you can check out some potential guys that you might want to draft here coming up. And you know that we got some stuff with MinneZona as well with fantasy football and pick'em. Make sure you check out TLS Performance, Troy Stoudemire Jr. He's doing some awesome stuff as well. And check out Popcorn Bucket List, Nick Dahlhoff, Rhino Meyerberg, Omni Entertainment. They've got new episodes weekly. Make sure you check our guys out there for all your movie needs and whatnot. So, with that being said, I don't have any other breaking news, I will say. I think, as of right now, we're going to keep on the social medias, keep you guys up to date. Mike Williams going back, wide receiver going back to the Chargers again. Wow, that's interesting.
Which one? Which Mike Williams? Mike Williams, the 9th?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Out of USC? Which one? There's been 12 of them.
There's been like 12 of them, exactly.
So many Mike Smiths.
I know.
So many Steve Slaytons as well. There's been too many of them.
There's too many to keep up with. Yeah, we really have lost track. So, anyway, that'll do it for episode 230. It was fun doing some Vikings free agency. A lot more to be had. We will keep you up to date on the socials. Dirty Harry is back with the Minnesota Vikings. We're happy about that. Skol, by God, it's Harrison Smith.
You're 14, baby.
Let's go. Hall of Famer, nonetheless, first ballot, you know it. So, with that being said, as always, remember, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.